Good morning. Today we are going to speak about a new topic, oscillators. What is an oscillator? An oscillator, in a layman's definition, is an electronic device which converts DC to AC. Whereas, technically speaking, it is an electronic device which generates oscillations of desired frequencies without any external input source. Now, even generator is generating the AC waveforms. So let us see the distinguishing features between the generator and an oscillator. The generator is located in the power plant and oscillator is movable. So generator is having a fixed frequency, that is in India the frequency is 15 Hz, that is the supply which we get at houses, KEP supply. So the frequency is 50 Hz. Whereas an oscillator, as you know, is a device which generates oscillations of any desired frequency. There is no restriction for that. Secondly, the generators are huge in size, whereas an oscillator is a very small sized device. It's a small circuit. Thirdly, these are generating high voltages and currents, whereas an oscillator deals with few volts and milliamperes. So these are some of the distinguishing features between generator and oscillator. We will also have a distinction between an amplifier and an oscillator. An amplifier amplifies or strengthens the weak signal, whereas an oscillator generates waveforms of desired frequencies. In the amplifier, the frequency of the output waveform is dependent on the input waveforms, whereas in the oscillator there is no input source, and in fact it generates its own frequencies. An amplifier and it doesn't have any external input source. So these two are the distinguishing features between amplifier and oscillator. And another thing is, in oscillator as well it can amplify to a certain extent. Not only generating, it also amplifies. So now let us see some of the applications of this wonderful device, that is oscillator. Where are these oscillators used? Oscillators are found wherever there is generation of waveforms. Now, for example, in radio, television, satellites, wherever communication is happening, there we have the oscillator. Now, for example, when you go to purchase a computer, you will ask for the speed of the computer. So that will be in order of gigahertz. So who is generating the frequency of gigahertz? There is an oscillator inside the computer sitting inside and generating those frequencies. You have microprocessors which have again certain frequency, certain speed. So there also you have a oscillator. In your wall clock, it ticks for every second. Again, there is an oscillator sitting inside. So there are wide variety of applications wherein you will see the oscillator being used. Now let us classify. See the classification of oscillators. Basically, the oscillators are divided into two types, that is sinusoidal and non-sinusoidal. As the name itself suggests, the sinusoidal oscillators are those which generate sine waves. And non-sinusoidal, again we have different types in this, like square waves, rectangular waves, triangular, and sawtooth. So in non-sinusoidal, you can generate any of these functions. Based on the frequency the oscillators generate, again we have three types. They are based on frequency, audio frequency oscillators, or they are also called as RC oscillators, radio frequency oscillators, or widely known as LC, and the third one is very high frequency oscillators, or usually called as crystal oscillators. So audio frequency oscillators are capable of generating the audio frequencies. The audio frequency, all of you know, is in the range of 20 Hertz to 20 kilohertz. The radio frequencies above 20 kilohertz to few megahertz. And the very high frequencies range from about 50 megahertz to gigahertz, several gigahertz or few gigahertz I can say. So based on the frequency the oscillator generates, we have these three types. Again, another category is based on the type of oscillation generated. So based on the oscillations, you have two types of oscillators, damped and undamped oscillations. What do we understand by this damped oscillations? Damped oscillations have the nature, such type of nature wherein the amplitude goes on reducing and reaches zero. The frequency remains the same, but amplitude reaches zero with time. In undamped oscillations, amplitude and the frequency remain the same throughout with time. So, which is used in the applications? We cannot use damped because the amplitude is very less. So, in all the applications, we are going to use undamped oscillations. But why we are having this classification is, why naturally damped oscillations are existing, and using some external circuitry we are going to convert that into undamped oscillations. So these are some of the categories of classifications of oscillators. Now let us see how the oscillations are generated. Using what circuit we can generate the oscillations. So to start with, we have a tank circuit. And this capacitor is connected to DC. So the nature of capacitor is to charge when a voltage source is applied. So as a result, what happens? The voltage, the capacitor starts charging and stops charging when its voltage is equal to V volts. After that, let us remove this voltage source and we'll have only L and C tank circuit. This is called as tank circuit because L and C, there is no energy loss in these two, so we usually call it as a tank circuit. And now here we can see that your capacitor is fully charged, whereas your L is not having any current to it, because we have closed the switch just now. After this, what happens? The tendency of the capacitor is to discharge. When there is a voltage source, it charges. When there is no voltage source and if it is charged, it starts discharging. So it finds a path through inductor and starts discharging. So the discharging path is like this. The current flows in this direction, and as there is a coil, a magnetic field is developed around this inductance in this direction. So what happened here is, the electrical energy is getting converted into magnetic energy. And as you know, when there is a magnetic field, an EMF is always induced. A back EMF is always induced. So, as a result of which there is a back EMF induced, and the current, because of that back EMF, the current has to flow in the same direction. And now the capacitor has fully discharged, whereas the inductor is having a back EMF. It has stopped charging. The next diagram we see that the current is flowing in this direction. The capacitor has discharged, now it has to charge. So it starts charging in the opposite direction. You can see the direction here, it is opposite. And once it is fully discharged, once it is fully charged, again the magnetic energy is being converted into electrical energy. There is no loss of energy. So in the next diagram we see that once the capacitor is fully charged, again it starts discharging in the opposite direction. So magnetic field again is developed, but opposite to which was formed in the previous diagram. So again a back EMF is induced, which is opposite to the very source created it, and again the current flows in the same direction. So now what happens? The capacitor is fully discharged and gets charged because of this back EMF in the opposite direction. You can see the polarities there. So this goes on continuously, and in the process when I am measuring the voltage across this capacitor, I can see that a waveform is generated which is positive once, negative alternatively, and that is the sinusoidal waveform generated. So what we have achieved here is undamped oscillations of certain frequencies. What is the value of frequency? So in this diagram, what is the frequency depending upon? How can we calculate the frequency? So it is decided by the formula 1 over root 2 pi root LC. So your frequency is purely decided by the values of L and C. So changing the values of L and C, you can increase or decrease the frequency. For example, as you see, it is inversely proportional to the root of LC. So as you increase the values of L and C, frequency will be less, and if you want the higher frequencies, then you have to reduce the values of L and C. So this is about how the oscillations are generated of desired frequencies. Now, I told you that undamped oscillations are generated. According to our discussions, theoretically, the undamped oscillations are generated. But practically, when we measure the voltage across the capacitor, it is not undamped, it is damped oscillations. As you can see, with every cycle, there is a small value of energy loss. This is the amount of energy loss. With every cycle we see small amount of energy being lost. But we say that the tank circuit, there is no energy loss in the tank circuit, but why we are seeing the damped oscillations in the case of undamped? As you know, again, the capacitor and inductor inherently have some value of resistance. In the equivalent diagram, we see that inductance has some resistance and capacitor also has some resistance. So in the resistance, the power gets dissipated or lost. So in every cycle, there is small amount of energy loss because of the resistors in these two elements, and eventually we see that it reduces to zero. So what has to be done to get the undamped oscillations? So in the next circuit, we will see that we will be doing some changes to the oscillator so that we will get the sustained. We also call this undamped oscillations as sustained oscillations. So what has to be done? What are the requirements to achieve sustained oscillations? We'll just list out the essentials of sustained oscillations. First of all, we need to have an oscillatory circuit. Basically, without this oscillatory circuit, we will not get the oscillations. So, what we saw in the previous discussion, that is LC tank circuit, is an oscillatory circuit. Second one is an amplifier. An amplifier, because every time we see that there is a small amount of energy loss. So to cover up that energy which is lost, we need to have something which supplies that lost energy, and so then we have a amplifier. And third is the feedback circuit. What is this feedback circuit? Now I am providing the energy lost to the input of the oscillator, and this feedback should be in phase. Feedback is small amount of output being given back to the input. So this feedback which I am giving to the input should be in phase with the oscillator. If it is out of phase, then we will not get even the oscillations which we were getting earlier also. So both have to, that is input and the output waveforms should be in phase. So that is taken care by the feedback circuit. The feedback circuit also provides the energy lost, and the phase correction also is done by this feedback. So we will see one circuit which is based on the LC tank circuit and which has all these essentials in its circuit without external input source. Colpitt's oscillator, by the name of the scientist who designed it. We have Colpitt's oscillator which has L and C. So it's just a C amplifier. These are the biasing resistors, voltage divider resistors, biasing resistors, and bypass capacitor, and these two are coupling capacitors. So this is your proper C amplifier, and here we would be giving the input. So now, as the oscillator does not have any input source, we have a feedback circuit here. Okay, now let us see how it works and how phase correction is done by this feedback circuit. Now, as I told, there are three things that are required in an oscillator: feedback first oscillatory circuit, then amplifier, and feedback circuit. So the amplifier is your own C amplifier. So this amplifier strengthens the weak signal that is achieved by the oscillatory circuit. So C amplifier is there, and oscillatory circuit, this is the tank circuit which I can show it here like this. So this is the actual circuit there. And oscillatory circuit is designed by C1, C2 and L. And one more characteristic feature of C amplifier is the output is 180 degrees out of phase with the input. So all of you know in the amplifier we have seen that when the input is in this phase, output is opposite to it, that is 180 degrees out of phase. So there is but we have discussed that there should be no phase difference. No phase means it can be 0 degrees or 360 degrees. So your C1, C2 and L contribute to 180 degrees phase difference. They add, so this has added 180 degrees and this feedback circuit adds another 180 degrees and the resultant is 360 degrees or in phase. So all these three essentials are taken care of by your amplifier and oscillatory circuit. Now we'll see how it works. As soon as VCC is applied, the capacitor starts charging, and as the capacitor charges fully to the VCC, there is conversion of energy from electrical to magnetic energy, and hence the vacuum is generated, and that again will charge the capacitors, and this goes on, and we see that the oscillations are generated in this C1, C2 and L tank circuit. Then the same is given back. So as the amplifier strengthens the weak signal, this weak signal that is sent to the AC, which is weak or having very small value, that is applied to the coupling capacitor, and that is amplified here, and 180 degrees out of phase signal is obtained. And as you know, C1 is 90 degrees lagging and L is in the voltage in C is 90 degrees lagging, and in the inductor it is 90 degrees leading. So the resultant phase difference is 180 degrees when you take L and C together. So because of L and C, the phase 180 degrees phase is added to this 180 and we get 360 degrees.